Hi, this is Danielle. I am here today with my beautiful friend Alex. And what I wanted to do was share a little bit of what a live coaching session looks like and feels like so that you can sit in the resonance of the energy and feel through how you can start to look into the mind, find the thoughts that are creating the feelings. Those feelings are what create the suffering in our body, and how we start to look at the deeper levels of what the stories are in our minds so that we can start to change the story and have a slightly different vibrational frequency to start to change our reality and find peace in our bodies. So thank you, Alex, for participating in this little experiment.
That's fine. It's always good.
So Alex is someone who reached out to me for some work, and he's actually become my social media marketing manager, IT tech guy, and really great friend. And we haven't done one of these sessions for a while, so I'm a little bit excited to jump in and actually start picking apart some of your mind. Now, this morning we were having a little chat around abundance and money, and you started sharing, and I thought, let's just save it for here. Do you want to give me a bit of your processing around what's been happening for you and your realizations?
Um, I've realized that by working with you, I had like a blockage of money coming in that I was like not accepting money coming through, and that I was kind of like maybe nervous or afraid of that flow of income coming in. And because I was going through some real bad times, and all of a sudden that when I realized that, my back experiences was the mistakes that I've done in the past have been just journeys, and that I shouldn't be afraid to take opportunities and and then just that it wasn't bad decisions, that it was just part of life to accept, um just like fall, get up, learn by your experience and keep going. And when I acknowledge to myself saying, everything that I've done, it's been good, it hasn't been bad, they haven't been failures, there's been experiences, and I am ready to take on other levels of, I'm ready to go back, I'm ready um to accept money coming in so that I can do other things and stuff like that. Everything started changing, work started coming, money started to come in. um and it's been where money comes in daily, 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 from different sources. uh I don't even know where it's going to come from, or extra work will come in, and or people would just send me money. It's like, hey, here, um uh here's some money for this or whatever, or can you help me with this? People that before that I would just help out with IT, all of a sudden it's like, hey, what's your cash app, or what's this, or what's that? And I was like, okay, what's this? But before I would not take it. Before I would just not take it. I was like, no, 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 no. And now I'm like, no, here's my cash app. It has been 20 years of constant learning. I learn every day, different coding, programming, everything. I'm always learning. So I should learn to accept what I have learned and start, accepting. Yeah, I can charge for this, other people, I'm not taking advantage. This is just, the way it should be. So I did notice that once you realize that you do deserve to get paid. You do deserve to accept, and you're not. And if because it almost looks like I was afraid to make money so that I would not make any mistakes. And you taught me that. You taught me that. You're afraid of, if you make a lot of money, that you're gonna make mistakes and maybe lose money. And now I realize that that's part of life. It's part of life, just to make mistakes and learn from the mistakes and just improve and improve and improve. So yes.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because it actually correlates to, I had a coaching call this morning, and one of my clients is in a similar, I guess, different, but a similar masculine mindset of, he has this 3-year business plan, and he's like spent all this time and energy planning exactly what this vision looks like, super excited to have it happen. But the thing is, what he's done in his mind, and I think what you have journeyed through as well, is that there's this idea, and it's so big sometimes, and the mind goes, but I have to do it right. I have to do it perfect, and I can't make mistakes, because if I make a mistake and if I get it wrong or I fail, then I'm unworthy and I'm not good enough. Right. So it goes into this masculine, energetic place of, the masculine wounding is unworthiness at its core. And if you've got an unworthiness thing driving you, then you're not going to be able to receive money, because you don't actually believe you deserve money. And you've sort of slowly been dissecting this and journeying this so that you're able to go into that receiving and seeing that you are worthy. Your skills are amazing. And the attitude, because we dissected this a bit, and the perfectionism, right? There's such a high expectation that we put on ourselves, especially in this masculine energy of, I have to meet this level of, productivity or sales or whatever it is. And the benchmark is so high that we put so much self-pressure on ourselves that our body contracts. We get so much stress, anger, frustration come out of it. And then we tend to actually go into a place of no action, because no action is actually better than the thought of failing and being unworthy and not being good enough. And so if you can dissect that and look at it and, even journey into, where does the unworthiness come from? And we've done a bit of work on that, and it's always into the childhood experience. But if you see that it's around this fear of failure, and then also the fear of success, because it's like, well, if I fail, I'm not good enough, but I also don't think I'm worthy of being good enough and succeeding, then you see that it's just around unworthiness, and you can go, okay, well, at the moment, yeah, I might feel unworthy, but I'm working towards feeling more worthy. And the more that I do that, I can step into it, and I can do it, and I can do it badly. And I love that. It's so simple. Just do it badly, because nothing, when you're a perfectionist and you've got unworthiness issues, nothing is ever good enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like nothing is ever good enough. And it's like, learn to be totally at peace with being perfectly imperfect and learning, like you said.
Yeah. And it is, because I have worked with people that sometimes they hold back. You're working on a project, they're working on a project, and when it's time to jump into that project and make it flourish and make it grow, they hold back. It's almost like they're afraid that what happen if it does work, or what happen if it doesn't work. And I think I have learned what you just said, that you just, I don't think I lived where I am, the house that I have, the car that I drive, the girlfriend that I have. It hasn't, I almost like I got to a point like, who cares, because who cares? And that's the mentality. You just have to take a deep breath and jump in, and if whatever happens, it can be a very beautiful story, or it can be a just another experience. And I have learned that I've been in so many projects, so many startup businesses that they just don't flow. The energy doesn't flow, and you always think, oh, it's the bad team or it's a bad communication, but it is about just doing it. It's just about doing it, and almost like, and it's about just like not carrying it, and don't stress yourself, because I have stressed so much about finances and not moving forward that it has attacked physically, where my back goes out, uh all these physical issues, where because you're stressing so much that now your body's attacking your own body, versus if you kind of go like, you know what, if I don't pay my credit card this month, who cares? It's better than to be stressed out. If I can't pay my car bill, whatever. It's just concentrating, learning, and just live. And I think also that I have learned is to live every day, because I think people, and I think I've always done that. You're always trying to live in the future. Oh, I want to get to this point. Oh, I want to get to this point. When I get to this point, when I get to this point. But you're missing out what's going on right now. you know and mostly that's what I'm trying to do now, is trying to live at the moment, and then see where it kind of gets me, kind of just like uh like point the boat at a certain way, but live each moment of it. And I think that's mostly very good to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, exactly. And I think, from knowing you and knowing your previous life experience, you've spent a lot of time in the masculine energy, and the masculine energy is very goal driven. It's very future orientated of, I got to do A, B, C, D to get to E and F, and I have to do it in that way. And the logical mind is amazing, but it has to be integrated with also the feminine mind and the intuitive parts of ourselves, because we start to realize that personal development and consciousness isn't linear. So you can't plan A, B, C, D, E to get there.
Mhm.
Because there's always things that pop up on the way. And what happens if you could get to A to D quicker, if you started to let go of this like future representation of where you're supposed to be? So being in the now actually opens that space. So to put that in more context, it's like the stress that you feel in your body when you have that pressure, anytime that your body contracts, anytime that it closes, any stress, any like frustration or anger, if you've got tension and stress in your body, that is actually closing you off to any current and flow with universal or source energy. So if you're disconnected from the flow, then you're not actually able to receive these sort of divine interventions or messages or directions moving forward, or even allow the opportunities to come into your space of like that can help you skip those sort of steps. And it's about sort of balancing those things together. And the masculine finds that challenging, because they're actually being so much in their mind that you have to start to drop into the body.
Yeah.
And you meditate, and you've done some healing and all different sorts of things in that space. And do you have to, for a daily practice to get into your body, what are the things that you've been doing recently to really step into the present? Because being in your body is being present. If you're in your mind, you're actually usually a little bit disconnected from that moment.
Mostly what I try to do is, before I was trying to do large meditation sessions, and I found that those are really hard when you have a lot of things to do. And then because then your mind starts going in 100 different directions, or the phone or the dog just barked or something happened to kind of like get you off track on the meditation. So I found that what works for me is um, different chunks of small meditations during the day, depending on what I'm feeling. If I'm doing my work and I start getting upset or I start worrying about something, I will stop, drink a little bit of water, do a prayer, and then do like a little bit of deep breathing. And I'm talking about maybe like 5 minutes, just stop, feel what you're feeling. What am I feeling right now? Oh, I'm kind of stressing out. Okay, stop, drink a little bit of water, deep breath, do a prayer, and then do like a little meditation where you just close your eyes and kind of like let go a little bit. And I think that kind of brings me into the focus. And I'll do that 5 times, 10 times, wherever, just trying to always make sure that I know what I'm feeling or what I'm doing, and if
I was like, and that's the thing that I actually have noticed more about you is the amount of observation you've had of your body and your thought of like, okay, how am I in this moment? And I've noticed you sort of say, oh, I noticed this thing or I observed this thing, and
Mhm.
letting awareness drop down and being, I guess, the observer of your experience so that you can recognize how your body's feeling. Because if we're not aware of what our thoughts are and how our bodies are, then you know how quickly it is to spiral into frustration.
Mhm.
And I always feel that a great way when you're initially, because so many of us are not aware of our bodies, that we're not present enough and we're not conscious enough of even how we feel. And for men, especially, being so much in their mind, it's a whole new practice. It's a whole new learning. And a good way to do it is similar to what you're doing of set your alarm on your phone for every hour. And when that alarm goes off, just stop and be like, oh, what am I thinking? How am I
Mhm.
feeling? Where am I? And so that you're actually focusing on what you like, how you're showing up in the world. So
Mhm.
you feel the tightness and then take a few deep breaths, like you said. And a super easy practice for
Yeah.
coming back into the present moment is just closing your eyes and going, how many sounds can I hear? Oh,
Mhm.
okay. I hear the birds. I can hear the cars on the street. I can hear the laptop and the computer running. I can hear the dog walking down the hallway.
Mhm.
Oh, there's a slight echo to my microphone. Like, and hearing all of that, and then it drops you back down into your body. And that's when you let go of all of the crazy mental chatter.
Mhm. Well, another thing that I notice is that because as we have talked in the session, is that I always have a big problem feeling heavy or light, and I think I still have that because I don't know if it's my brain or my feelings. I don't know. If I say, okay, should I do this? Is it heavy or light? And I've always had that problem, and maybe I still do a little bit, but mostly what I try to do is during the day is if if it's a bad emotion, if I'm feeling stressed or angry or whatever that's bad, I try to right away change it.
Mhm.
But if it's an emotion that I remember about my kids, or I remember something that I did with my grandma when I was a little, or sometimes you have flashbacks of somebody says something or you hear something, you get a flashback of a good moment, and you get that feeling in your stomach, what they call that, butterflies in your stomach. I would try to focus on that feeling and enhance it, enhance the feeling of happiness or enjoyment. I would try to um, bring it bigger, feel it, then and I think that's actually has worked for me. Like if I remember, oh, I used to live in my car, but look at now, I have a 3-story house, and I feel that enjoyment in my stomach, I would acknowledge it and then try to increase it, like saying, yes, I am grateful for what I have. I have a nice house, I have a nice car, my kids are healthy, they eat every day, they're safe, they're happy. When you try to do that, then you do open up more positive energy into your life.
Yeah, definitely. And what you're doing through the gratitude side of things, of like reflecting back and looking at what you do have and being grateful for what you do have, but actually making that greater, that's a beautiful expansion exercise. And it's one that a lot of people do as a practice for opening your heart. Because so many of us are walking around with closed hearts because we have so many walls and barriers, and we've cut off that space of actually receiving love. And when you cut off receiving love from source or creator or any external, you actually cut off your ability to receive money as well. It's all interconnected. So if you're not opening that space, then your receiving is going to be very limited, and you're going to keep finding with your unconscious mind things and reasons as to why you're not loved and not abundant and not worthy. But what you can do is sort of exactly what you've said. You sort of can place your hand on your heart and think of something that brings you a sense of joy or love, or my dog was just on my lap and she's like so super beautiful. I love her. She's like such a blessing. Like, honestly, I can't think of her and get angry. And so if I sit and I feel that and I attach to that feeling, then what you do is you actually push it out. So you can not only, when you see this from an energetic standpoint, you're pushing out love, not only for yourself, but for everyone in your direct field as well. So it has this flow-on effect. So even though we've got time and space, you're on the other side of the world to me. You're in Mexico, I'm in Australia. And if I push that out, because in reality, in truth, there is no time and space. It's just a concept of our mind. My energy can have a flow-on effect to you. And so it's not only you're having like this beautiful connection of energy with source, and you're able to bring in more connected relationships, have more abundance come into your life, have more beautiful experiences, because you're grateful for the ones that you have now. You're just asking for more by allowing yourself to open to more. So when you were sort of the light and heavy conversation, I think that's an important one to actually bring up really briefly, because it has a lot of influence on business decisions. So a great exercise for that, and I feel like we haven't done it in person in a consult, but we have sort of done it through voice messages here and there. And I did it this morning with a client as well, because I think it's the best way to start sort of understanding light and heavy. So heavy is contraction, heavy is stress, heavy is a feeling in the body that is attached to a thought. And what you were saying was about, you don't know if it's your mind or I guess divine guidance. And that's accurate, right? So if you're in your head and you're telling a story and you've got a narrative and you've already come to a conclusion, and you try and do light and heavy while you're in that space, you're not going to find it, because there's too much energy. Like, it's just like, whoa. So if you come into the present and you take 3 or 4 deep breaths, depending on who you are, you may need to take 10. And you belly breathe, and you want to breathe right in and imagine like releasing that stress. And once you get into a space of presence, and then you're in that present moment, okay, think of a situation. Do you have anything business wise at the moment that you're unsure of, or you've got a situation that you're like indecisive?
I think so. I'm always working like on several projects, so I don't know.
Is there a specific project that you're like, that you're kind of in a space of you're unsure if you should be putting your energy there?
No, actually, right now I'm actually really focused on just preparing like 3 projects with the crypto NFTs and stuff like that. So just I guess
Okay, that's actually
I-
that's
you know
still
what, the thing is that when I remember the project that I have currently right now, um, I feel really good about this. Okay, I get the bubbly, I get the butterflies in my stomach, and um, the only time that I have noticed, and I am getting better with lighting heavy, it was when, like, s- um, at a store, this lady gave me a card so that I could prepay for funeral services, you know. So she was outside the supermarket giving out cards saying, "Oh," and I grab a card, and then she was really talking real quick about the business, and I was like, "Oh, maybe I should look into this," and I started looking into it. But it and a couple of days ago, I was feeling about that. It's like, I should buy some prepaid funeral service or whatever. I don't want to give my kids a hard time or whatever, something should happen. But when I met that lady and I was talking to her, I felt like she was like a con artist. It felt like this is not good or whatever. And I haven't felt like that in a long time. But at that moment, I was like, okay, I'm going in the right directions in my bit of what I'm doing right now at work, because this feeling is completely opposite of what I feel when I'm working. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so this must be, the heaviness, like, like kind of like almost like you're bumping into a wall, kind of like I better get away, you know. So I was kind of like, okay, this is wrong, like saying this is hot and this is cold, so so I think that was like, okay, this is must be, it's because she was saying, oh, it's $10 a week and you're paying 4 years and now everything's prepaid and la la la. But then I started investigating and I was like, well, no, this is like not good. You're just, taking people's money, and then when you need it, the company is not there or whatever, so yeah. But when it comes to businesses, what I'm doing right now, they all feel I should be there. When what I'm studying right now, I feel like I have that googly thing that, oh, okay, I'm not wasting my time, so.
And I totally feel that from my end of like the energy that you're energetically putting out there. Everything that you're doing business wise is in total alignment, and I have no fear whatsoever for you, me, the venture we're co-creating, because it feels so expansive, probably more than I can actually comprehend. But the direct contrast of what you were saying of like having all of this lightness and sort of the expanded, open butterfly excitement, all the different feelings that are associated to that, and then having this kind of icky, like, oh, that doesn't feel right, like, well, oh, that's a bit, and like questioning, right? So this is where, if you say in the past, can like reflect this back into a business space, say a business opportunity came up, and what this lady was saying to you was, she was telling you the story. She was giving you the story of it's only, $10 a week and you get this, this, and this. And so what happens is your mind wants to attach to that story. And it's like, yeah, right, this sounds good. This is like, okay. So a new business opportunity comes up and you're like, yeah, that sounds really good. Like I could be famous, I could make this much money, but if you're not listening to the body part of it and the energy that's with that story, then you could be completely playing into the words, right? And in complete denial of what's actually true for you. And we do that all the time. We go into a space of justifying things with our stories. So say comes to, instead of just, no, this doesn't feel right, because that's how our mind has to have a reason that something doesn't feel right.
Yeah, something logical.
Yeah, it's like it has to attach to a story and a logical reason and justification to say, oh, that's why I'm choosing this, rather than I just don't want to do it. It doesn't feel good. And for most of us to say no without a reason or anything is hard, you know, and it takes a lot of reconditioning to come into a place of, I don't want to do it because I don't have to, I don't want to, it doesn't feel good, I'd rather do something else. And I don't have to explain it, justify it, have a story attached to it. And the more that we do that, the more that we actually start to let go of those stories. And when we let go of the stories in our present, like, you know, that sort of situation, we also let go of those childhood stories, you know, those unworthiness stories, because we start to go, oh, okay, oh, something, you know, a colleague says something to you about your work ethic, or you're always late, or, you know, it could be something so minor. And then all of a sudden you're starting a story of questioning your abilities, questioning how much value you give, are you good enough? And all that is a story that's attached to some childhood wounding that's not even true. And if you can feel that heaviness, like what you said around that experience, then you go, oh, okay, heavy, that contraction in my belly, this doesn't feel right. That's when there's lies attached, the mind's lies.
Yeah.
And it's just coming. Yeah, can go.
No, and the thing is that I know it takes a lot of practice. It's not something that you're gonna acquire right away, because I've been practicing it for a long time. But I think if you listen more to your body's emotion than your brain, you will find a better way. Like another example is, like, I wanted to go see my daughter at the end of this week. So, and it felt okay, but I didn't feel like, it was kind of like a neutral feeling. Oh, you know, we're gonna go this weekend. But then you also have to see how the path is. You know, I say, okay, well, you know, what does it take for me to go visit my daughter? Well, it takes for me to change my car's brakes, get an oil change, prepare my car, and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, but I feel kind of neutral. Yeah, I go to the brake shop, and the brake shop tells me, it's like, oh no, you know, we're not gonna have your brakes. You know, those parts are really hard for your type of a car. You have to go get them, you know, here or there. You have to go get them somewhere else, and then bring them to me. And then, so it's kind of like, oh, that sucks. And then I was expecting some money to come in for that trip, and it didn't happen. So I was like, okay, so it's twice, so I'm not going. You know, the feeling is not there anymore. So, but you know, if I would not use my emotions, I would just keep going, like, no, I gotta go this weekend. So I went and I told my daughter, like, you know what, I'm not gonna go this weekend. And I didn't give her the answer. I just said, you know, they don't have the car brakes, blah blah blah. We'll postpone it for another couple of weeks. Are you okay with it? She was like, yeah, that's fine. So then I stop at another mechanic shop, and I say, how much will you charge me to do the brakes? You know, and then she looked at it, do you have your brakes with you? I said, no. And I said, she's like, I said, but if you call AutoZone, you know, if you call somebody, they'll find them, because I looked online and they're there. So they call and say, yeah, we have them. We have the front and the back brakes. We can get them. I said, okay, then do it. You know? Yeah, I said, can you, and then the feeling started going, okay. Can you do oil changes? Yeah, we do oil changes. The other place that I wasn't, they don't do, so I had to go take it somewhere else. So this is all in one shop. So I was like, okay. So now the car is getting prepared, but in the emotion feels better to go on the other date than this date. So I think when you start to learn to work the emotions, or the path is going to open up and it's going to close. You just have to learn how to listen, and sources will tell you, maybe it's not a good idea to go this weekend. I'm going to put this blockage. So you kind of go, okay, we're going to go there in 2 weeks. So that the path opens up. So you go to another place and they're like, oh yeah, because what? Because source told you pick 2 weeks,
Yeah.
So it's a practice that you just have to learn, not go by what your brain says, because your brain must say, hey, my son's free this weekend, I'm free this weekend, let's go this weekend. And I think that's where people make the mistakes or something wrong happens. But source is helping you. Let me help you out. You just have to learn, but it takes practice.
Oh, totally. It's a practice. And I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I made a commitment to myself about 2.5 years ago, where I realized this, and I was like, okay, if I allow, let go of my mind and the stories, because I know that confuses a lot of things, and it hasn't worked for me so far in my life. My life was a shit show. And I was in a lot of pain, like internal pain, a lot of suffering. I felt stressed all the time. My body was breaking down. And I started to realize, okay, well, my mind doesn't know. My mind's telling me one thing and I couldn't get any clarity. I was like, okay, well, now that I'm learning this practice of sit in it and feel it. And so that's what I do now. I don't make choices logically. I make them on energy, and I make them in alignment with source, or the messages and the energy around it. And as you said, something may feel good and it might feel aligned, and you start to go towards that. And then all of a sudden something can come up and a new awareness can open up, or like a new experience, or you see something you didn't see, and it completely can flip. And you're like, oh, okay, I just needed to get to this point so that I could see other possibilities or other options, and allow myself to move through it that way. And I feel as though the more that I've let go of the control I have of my life, the easier life has become. I'm not saying there's not contrast. There is always contrast, but it's usually when I'm not listening that the conflict comes up as a reminder to come back into listening to source and letting go of the emotion, like you said, letting go of it and just allowing the right path to unfold. And the only way to do that is to be present.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. What else should we talk about?
Oh, no, I feel that's good. Like, I feel that was a really productive chat, actually. And I know we're both in such good spaces. So we're both energetically, it's wow, which is amazing, because there's that alignment. And I think the more that we step into that alignment of feeling that, then you can actually really notice when you're off. So the parts of your life that aren't feeling that way, they're the areas to focus on. So it's like, okay, if I sit here, where in my life am I not feeling some version of this level of energy? And if I'm not feeling that, then what am I not willing to see about my life? What are the lies attached to it? And what are the stories attached to it? And how do I see what's actually congruent and true for me, so that I can make more choices that are aligned with God's path for me?
Yeah. Now, another thing that I think that I've learned is this: the rules to learning has to be their own. Because I think people say, I don't have time to meditate, or I don't like to pray, or I don't like to, I don't have time to meditate, or my mind goes in different direction. It doesn't work for me. I think that everybody has to find their own way, their own time, because a lot of people say, well, you have to meditate minimum 20 minutes. No, you can do a minute, 2 minutes, whatever you can. But I think what I've noticed is that people want to do things like a recipe. Well, no, this is how things have to be done. And when it comes to energy and sources of life, you have to find your own way to do things. That's what I found out.
Yeah, and I think that's a beautiful point to bring up on closing too, because we have this idea that it's the same. It's a story. It's a story of to be spiritual or conscious or live in my purpose. It has to look like this because this is what everyone's saying it has to look like, and I have to do this. But every single person's practice is different, and you have to learn not to judge it. You have to learn to go, okay, so this person might have a 2-hour yoga, meditation, eat vegan, green practice every single day to be like centered. Whereas for me, and I've had to like layer this one back, my practice changes. I get up and I'm like, okay, what do I actually feel like I need to do today? Where is my energy best put that's in alignment with creator? And sometimes that's getting up for sunrise and going for a walk. Sometimes that is, getting up, having a coffee and doing some journaling. Sometimes that's staying in bed. Sometimes that is going to the gym. Other times it might be like actually just mucking around on YouTube, and it's listening to whatever is kind of right for me. And your meditation doesn't have to be meditation. So I think this is really important for people to understand that meditation is anytime you're in flow of no thought specifically. Yeah. So how do you have times of no thought? Dancing, singing, playing musical instruments is often a time of no thought if you're in flow with it. Painting, drawing, any creative practice. Fishing for men is a time of meditation because you're out in nature, you're connected, you're just sitting there and you're chilling. So there's so many different forms of meditation, but you still have to choose at least one of those a day for yourself, because otherwise the mental conflict comes in too quickly, too much. And it's just figuring it out. It's like, okay, I'm all over the place. What will help me to bring in a little bit more and a little bit more? And it's just fine tuning it.
Yeah, because sometimes sometimes the most, like if I can't meditate, if I try to meditate and I just can't meditate, or my mind's going at 1,000 miles, 1,000 places or whatever, will set up my acrylic pouring painting, and I'll paint, and I'll put some jazz, or I'll put some classical music. And some people that know me is like, oh, I thought you were just into classical, because they come in and they come to the house and they're like, oh, I'm blasting, Guns N' Roses, or I'm blasting tomorrow Beethoven, whatever. It's whatever you feel. And it doesn't have to be like a glass square where everything has to be perfect. If I can't meditate, or I'm trying to pray and meditate and it's not going my way, I'll just go paint, and that's my way of relaxing. I'll go cook, I'll go make some desserts. That's my way of meditation, because I'm blank, I'm just focusing on this. So I think that's most important, that people have to learn to do their own way of connecting to source, because a lot of people say, well, every time I try to meditate, I fall asleep.
Yeah, or I can't stop my mind from thinking. And it's well, you need to find your own way. And I guess to actually kind of finish that piece off is understanding your creative energy is life force energy. So life force energy is direct life force of your being, which is directly connected to source. So if you're not being creative enough in your life, you're going to feel a disconnection. You're going to feel a level of depression. You're going to feel a lack of passion. And you're not going to feel that orgasmic juiciness of life that's available to us at all times, because we often spend so much time in our work, and then we go and put all of our time into our family and we have nothing left for ourselves. And that's why that creativity is meditation.
Yeah, great.
And that can be this. Like, this is still, I guess, a form of creative expression of we're authentically coming from our hearts and sharing our experience, and we're co-creating a conversation.
Yeah, it's about just finding your own way. Everybody has to find their own way of just aligning and feeling yourself, another way that I've found out that if I'm not productive, I'll use my senses. Like some people will go work out or whatever, and that's their physical sense, of stuff. I'll get my bottle of what they call it, essence oil, and I'll just spray and I'll clean my hands, and that brings me back into alignment, and then I can just relax. So it's about finding your own way, and just, but yeah, it's about receiving, giving gratitude, and talking to source. That's praying. A lot of people say, I don't know how to pray. Well, you can just talk,
Yeah. And I think the big piece out of that is everything that we've covered in this chat has been around letting go of the judgment that we have from others and ourselves. Because if we continue to judge ourselves and others, or have other people's judgments influence us, we can't find our own way, because that judgment blocks it.
Yeah.
Beautiful. What an awesome conversation. Thank you, Alex, for taking the time.
Thank you.
Yay. I really appreciate it. And just remember that if you enjoyed this content, if you want to hear any other podcast chats, coaching calls, or listen to meditations, to like and subscribe, and follow me on all of my social media platforms. I love you so, so very much. Have an absolutely beautiful day.
Bye.